The dark underbelly of learning more about yourself is that having more information about why you've acted the way you have doesn't cause you to change. And unfortunately, seeing the cost of staying the same doesn't always move you either. Just because you can quantify how much of your life or your peace that you've given up for something doesn't mean you'll actually do anything different. I mean, how many times have you said, I can't believe I didn't see that. If only I'd been paying more attention and I saw how much this was going to cost me, I'd have chosen something or someone different. Would you though? I mean, just because you see exactly what something's costing you doesn't mean you'll actually do anything different. You'll just have more to complain about. You'll talk about how it drains your energy or watch it wreck your relationships over and over in the same ways. And you watch those costs eat years of your life you can never get back. So no one has to tell you the cost you're paying right now, and yet you keep right on paying them and staying right where you are. So if simply seeing the cost isn't what moves you, then what does? Well, something else has to shift first, and until it does, all the clarity and the validating aha moments in the world won't get you off the bench to do anything different. In the next few minutes, I'll show you what actually gets you to take the action that points you toward what you want most. Listen up. If you don't hear anything else I say here, hear this. You keep going back to the thing you don't want and the thing you know isn't good for you because it's still doing something for you. You have to be really honest with yourself about this. It's validating a need that's very important to you. So important that you're willing to turn a blind eye to what it's costing you because you need that need met so badly. Maybe it's something about you that needs protecting, like a version of yourself you think no one would love. Or a need for approval that you don't get anywhere else, even though the way that approval is getting met is taking something precious away from you. Maybe you're more attached to the approval you get by not letting others be uncomfortable when you set a boundary. You bend over backwards to help them feel better about you to keep them from the work they need to do to manage their reaction. Because for you, living without their approval is a non-starter. You'll do whatever it takes to keep that approval. You see what it costs you to keep doing all this, but you can't bear to let go of that validation. So you just continue putting up with the cost because you're getting something from it. You're happy to keep right on paying that invoice because the benefits you get from staying where you are haven't yet outweighed the cost. So you find yourself stuck in a hall of mirrors. You're happy to stare at a whole room of distorted perspectives even though the exit door is just to your left. When you keep making the same mistakes, two good questions to ask yourself are, 1, what is this keeping me from? And 2, what is it giving me that's more compelling than what it's doing to me? Until you look at that honestly and you deal with it, you'll just keep paying the same cost over and over, and you'll keep flogging yourself with the reality of what you're giving up. You kind of play a lifelong game of stop hitting yourself, because nothing ever changes. And if you consider yourself to be an intelligent person, it's even harder because you think, am I not smarter than this? I mean, what the what? Something else hasn't clicked yet. There was a moment in my career where understanding this finally got real for me. I haven't always been a therapist. I had a whole other life for 20 years in corporate communications, and I worked in large companies with a lot of great opportunities. And one thing that's my hallmark everywhere I go is that I make myself a linchpin. I'm a bridge to what you want, and I'm a problem solver. So my reputation was if you didn't know how to do it, bring it to Lori. She'll either figure it out or she'll find someone else who knows how to do it. Well, I'd been in a particular role for quite a few years, and I'd built a pretty nice space for myself there. I was working on meaningful projects, and my name was coming up a lot, but I was getting more and more unhappy. I wasn't being challenged in my work, and I always need to be challenged. I get super cynical and whiny when I'm not chewing off something new. So I knew my best work there was really behind me. And to top it off, there was a corporate reorganization underway, the slow, non-surgical kind, not the Band-Aid rip-it-off kind. So it forced me to evaluate, how much longer do I want to hang around here and swim around in all this tension and drama? Well, in times like this, I always return to what matters most to me, my North Star, which was the next level of my own development. What's next that I can sink my teeth into and learn something new? This is why I harp so much on knowing what you want. If you don't know what you want and you let that guide you, well, drama and chaos will undo you. Everyone else's experiences and needs will just take you out of commission. So your North Star orients you and keeps you moving toward what you want, no matter what everyone else is doing. But even with all that, I was having a really hard time putting myself out there for another opportunity. I mean, I was doing the busy work part of it. I was drawing up pros and cons lists. Should I really go or should I try to stick it out? I was updating my resume quite a bit, and I was having conversations with people I do trust about my options. But at the root of it all was the fear that maybe I got kind of lucky here. I mean, I'm in a good place. Do I want to walk away from this linchpin status I enjoy to go somewhere else and maybe lose that? So I stayed because I was getting plenty of validation from working there in spite of the challenges. The benefit of growth and challenge somewhere else wasn't outweighing all the status and goodwill I was enjoying right where I was. And then the reorg finally went nuclear. I mean, the ground started shifting, and it was like working for a different company every single day. Now, I wasn't worried about losing my job because that's one of the advantages of making yourself a linchpin, but it definitely highlighted the urgency of my plight, and I had to be honest that the changes they were making in the company probably weren't for me. I was starting to look at my validation a little bit differently. Well, one morning, one of my coworkers passed my desk when she came in, and I said, as usual, "Good morning, how are you?" And she turned and gave me this stilted, awkward smile and said, "Oh, just so great." I was like, whoa, I've been through enough reorgs to know exactly where her head was. And something clicked in my own head. It was hard to articulate, but I just didn't want a front row seat for what I think was about to happen. I'd seen it too many times before, and I knew what was up ahead. Staying there wasn't just going to cost me my continued development in my career, but the next few months were probably going to be all about drama and political posturing. And I wasn't willing to pay that cost because that would only amp up my own cynicism and whininess, and that would keep me from focusing on my work. There's no upside for me in that kind of environment. So staying was still doing something for me. The reputation I'd built was absolutely validating me, and I was known and respected. I didn't have to prove anything to anyone, and that validation was the only thing keeping me there. I realized that's what I was protecting. And the minute I saw what I was trading that validation for, the drama, the constantly shifting goalposts, the weight of all the expectations, all that validation just didn't win out anymore. Not for the price I was paying anyway. That's when I took action. That's when I went from updating my resume to actually submitting it to apply for new roles. That's also when I activated my network to see what else was out there for me. Here's a key part most people miss when they do this kind of audit and the scales finally fall off their eyes on the costs they've been paying. Seeing the cost and being unwilling to pay the cost anymore are two very different things. You can see exactly what staying is costing you, and you can keep paying it, sometimes for years. What I had to do in that situation wasn't just notice the cost I was paying. I had to say, I'm no longer willing to pay this cost, and then I start taking actions to stop the payments. That's where change actually happens, when you start taking action towards what you want. None of it's real until you demonstrate it. For me, that meant I started aggressively looking for another opportunity. That move was the proof of my commitment to stop paying that cost. It wasn't how I felt about it all. It wasn't about the insight I gained from talking about my situation, and it wasn't even the clarity of finally seeing the reality of my situation. It was the moves I made. That's when transformation happens, when you move, not a minute before. If you've been stuck on something for a long time, the question isn't whether or not you can see it. I'm guessing you can probably see it. The question is whether you're willing to stop paying for it and whether you're willing to show that with your next move. Here's how to make this concrete. Grab whatever's near you to write on right now. A napkin, a receipt, the back of an envelope. It really doesn't matter. Something easy and quick. Remember those two questions I asked earlier? What is this keeping me from? And what is this giving me that's more compelling than what it's doing to me? Now, answer those questions about one specific thing in your life right now. Then write down one move you're going to make in the next 48 hours that will demonstrate you're done paying that cost. You need one action or move that's small enough to commit to, but big enough that it creates movement towards something that matters to you. Because what we don't want to do is to have the napkin be just another sticky note version of the same self-awareness trap. Make the napkin hold you accountable to something. Then keep the napkin somewhere you'll run into, somewhere it's easy to see or interact with. That napkin is the evidence that you see it, so you don't need to do any more work to see the costs. And you also drew up a little action plan on that napkin. So if you're still carrying that napkin a week from now and you haven't done anything different, well, that's information too, isn't it? The question is, what will you do to actually stop paying these costs and move towards your own North Star? If this connected for you, check out this video that goes deeper on why insight alone doesn't move you. You might recognize some things that got you in this stuck place in the beginning. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.